Love you. Maybe today. Maybe tomorrow. Novel audiobook. Chapter 2 Reunion. Their voices were loud as they seemed to be arguing, so I was able to hear them clearly. My mother-in-law said, "You know that child belongs to another man. Yet you helped raise him for so many years. You are so useless. Now look what happened. That unlucky kid got some weird sickness and needs $1 million for his treatment. That be asterisk 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 Aitlin Anan had even thought of selling the house to pay for the bills. I want to see what you'll do about it." Her words about my child belonging to another man cut me deeply like a knife. How could my son, Liu Xiaoyang, not belong to Liu Jun? That's enough. I won't raise another man's child for free. Someday, I'll get it all back, Liu Jun said. At this point, I couldn't hold it in anymore and ran into the kitchen. Liu Jun, what did you just say? What do you mean by raising another man's child? Both of them were shocked by my sudden appearance, and silently exchanged glances with each other. Liu Jun looked away. I didn't say anything. My friends invited me to play mahjong with them, so I need to go now. He pushed past me and was about to leave after saying that, but I had to get to the bottom of it, so I grabbed his shirt. Explain clearly. What do you mean by that? Why is Xiaoyang another man's child? Liu Jun got even more impatient. Let go. Do you hear me? You are not leaving until you make yourself clear. Whose child would Xiaoyang be if not yours? And what are you going to get back? Just what are you hiding? I pressed on, and Liu Jun got increasingly impatient as he couldn't get away. In the end, he reached out and grabbed me by the throat. Lin Anan, are you done? Let go of me. I struggled with all my might and was finally able to breathe. But I kept my grip on him as I wasn't about to just let things go like this. You could just tell her that Liu Xiaoyang belongs to the chief and have them both leave. It annoys me just seeing how we're raising that kid here, my mother-in-law added as she watched me struggle with Liu Jun. Liu Jun glared at her, as if she had said something that he had wanted to keep a secret. This made me even more suspicious now. Who is chief? Why do you say he's the father? I stared at him as I asked. Liu Jun shoved me hard towards the stove. Get off me. How the hell would I know who chief is? His force was too strong and sent me crashing towards the boiling pot of soup on the stove, and I cried out in pain as it spilled onto my arms. Liu Jun didn't care about my injuries and just seized the opportunity to leave the house. As I was running cold water over my arms, my mother-in-law pushed me. You've just driven Liu Jun out, and you still have the guts to stay here. Get the hell out. Now. At that moment, my heart felt as if it was dead within me, and I no longer had the strength to argue with my mother-in-law any further. I packed up my luggage and left that home that I once had a lot of beautiful memories in. The lights had just begun to illuminate the city as I dragged my suitcase out of the residential area. I turned around to look at the once familiar fifth-floor window, and my tears started flowing uncontrollably. I was still feeling upset after boarding the bus as I thought about what I got in return for all my efforts toward the household. My son was already asleep by the time I returned to the hospital. I found a chair and slept beside his bed before waking up the next morning and taking the bus to work. I was absent-minded and in a bad mood as I didn't sleep well the night before, and nearly missed my stop. Just as I arrived at the mall, I felt that all my colleagues were tense, and even the usually arrogant manager looked nervous. My colleagues then told me that the management had just received word that the boss was coming over for inspection. I had just finished changing into my uniform when I saw the manager fixing his tie as he ran towards the mall entrance. Shortly after, the executives walked into the mall surrounding a young man. The man was slender, fair-skinned, with a sharp nose and a pair of charming eyes under his thin eyebrows. He had an emotionless look on his face as he listened to the report from the executives while walking, not even nodding at them. I was starting to wonder why he seemed so familiar. Where have I seen him before? That was when it hit me. He looked like the man from the hotel that night. He had the same delicate facial features and cold look in his eyes. But I wasn't entirely certain. The lighting was dim in the hotel room and I was very nervous that time. Then, he suddenly walked in my direction. My heart started racing as I wondered if he had recognized me. And I kept my head low to avoid looking directly at him. He stopped briefly next to me and walked away without saying a word. He then pointed at the counter next to me and asked my manager to change it as it looked too cheap for a place that sells expensive phones. It wasn't until he took the escalator up to the second floor that my heartbeat slowly calmed down. I was probably overthinking things. It might not actually be him. There was no way he'd still remember me even if it was. To him, I was nothing but a prostitute not even worth remembering. My colleagues next to me were excited. Wow, isn't that boss too young and handsome? Is he one of those tyrannical bosses that we've heard of? He looked at me just now. He actually looked at me. Another colleague blushed happily as she held her face in her hands. Stop dreaming now. Who do you think you are? You really think he'd look your way? I've heard that Mr. Moo's girlfriend is the rich daughter of the mayor and they're getting married in 2 days. Another colleague said. As I listened to them praise his good looks, images of that messy night in the hotel flashed by in my head. I forced myself to not think about it as I reluctantly got back to work. When it was almost noon, the manager came and asked me to go to his office. I was very nervous as I was worried that I might have made a mistake somewhere at work. But he told me that Mr. Moo was the one who wanted to see me. My heart began to race again when I heard that. He wanted to see me. Why would he want to see me? Welcome to download the Bravonovel app. Read the novel Love You. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow online and get the latest updates.